because like I said, I'm recording this section of it. We're going to try to fly through the first parts of it. There's going to be a couple of the topics that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. The first one is eat 5 to 6 small meals a day. Now, I know like when you guys looked at that first week and you were saying, no, there's no way that I can eat 5 or 6 small meals a day, but you probably were already. You were eating your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, and then you were having some snacks in between. So this shouldn't be like a huge change for you. It's just now instead of putting in, again, those really calorie-dense foods, we're putting in foods that are a little bit better for you, and we're putting a little bit more structure to it. That's why when we put the structure to it, and we don't just let you kind of have whatever, it becomes kind of a little bit harder. The increased frequency of your meals is also going to keep your metabolism stimulated so that it's constantly working. Instead of going through a peak where your metabolism is working really hard and then it slows down, slows down. This way it's going to kind of keep it a little bit more even. And adding protein to each one of those meals is also going to help with that. Okay? All right, the second one, eat breakfast every day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big time.
I have such a struggle with breakfast, and now I force myself to make the protein shake.
Yeah, and to get it in.
I feel so much better. So now I'm
starting to realize that you need that food.
Yeah.
So when you guys sleep at night, what's happening is your digestive system is working, right? Most of us have eaten something fairly late at night. That's kind of the typical American way. You know, you have a late night snack, you have ice cream, you have popcorn, whatever, you go to bed. So while you're sleeping and you're resting there, your digestive system is trying to catch up and trying to, process all that. Now, say that you hadn't eaten since like 7 o'clock at night and you went to bed around 10. So your stomach and your digestive system has had a chance to metabolize that. So during your sleep, you're actually cleaning out your digestive system. Okay? And then towards the early morning hours, it actually gets a rest because it's been working for a long time. In the morning, when you wake up, that's when most of you go to the bathroom, right? It's because you have had that chance to kind of clean out your system, or your digestive system has had a chance to kind of detoxify a little bit. You kind of get rid of everything in the morning. You can go about your day filling your belly full of foods. So you want to make sure that you are breaking that fast. Put something in your stomach. Give yourself some food. Typically, the first thing that you eat in the morning is what you're going to crave throughout the day. So name some of the typical breakfast foods. Yogurt. Cereals. Huge cereals. I mean, you walk down the cereal aisle and it takes a whole aisle, top to bottom. Tons of stuff. Peanut butter is another really big one. Eggs. Okay, say you go to a continental breakfast. What do they have at a continental breakfast?
Little sweet rolls.
Hash browns, bacon, sausage, eggs, and Danish breads, the sweet breads, right? So you have one of those sweet things in the morning. Think of those sugar-laden cereals. That's what you're going to crave throughout the rest of the day. Now, if we can change that and give you some protein first thing in the morning, that's going to be typically what you crave. When you guys look at the calorie counts for your proteins, aren't they a little bit lower than, say, your peanut butter? Yeah, they are. So that's one of the big tricks, is making sure that you're setting yourself up in the morning by the first things that you really eat are really healthy foods, because then you'll crave those healthier foods through the rest of the day. Okay? Those unhealthy things, you'll be craving those. The other thing is, when you eat breakfast, and this is actually from the American Dietetic Association, I can't speak. It says, eating breakfast encourages increased concentration and problem-solving skills throughout the day. Who wants to concentrate better? Who wants to problem solve better? Have more focus. Eat breakfast. A couple of years ago, the school system actually got a huge grant that they were going to serve the kids breakfast every single morning. And for those of you guys who are in the school system, I'm sure you probably saw a difference in those kids and how they behaved throughout the rest of the day when they actually got breakfast. They could actually think better. They could use those problem-solving skills. So why are we any different? We're not. Give yourself breakfast. It's really important. Start your day off right. Okay? Any questions on breakfast? And why we should eat it? No? Good? Okay. The next one, eat high quality foods from the food list. How many of you guys know much about airplanes? No? Airplanes? Nobody knows much about airplanes? Okay. Yeah, it goes up and comes down. Okay. If I want my airplane to go up, am I going to put just the regular gas that I would put in my car in that airplane? No, I have to use avionic fuel. It's the highest octane fuel, and it is expensive. So I'm not going to trust myself in an airplane in regular gas up in the air. What's going to happen if I put regular gas in that airplane? It may not get up, but say it's up in the air. What's going to happen? Boom, crash and burn. Same thing with the fuel that you put in your body. You want the highest octane in your body so that you can soar above and you can stay above. You put in that low quality stuff and boom, crash and burn. Okay? Use those high quality foods. Lee Labrada, he's written a numerous amount of books on nutrition, and he actually has a fitness line of foods, proteins. It's called Labrada. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of it. But he said in one of his books, by eating protein with your complex carbohydrates, you'll slow down the carb to fat conversion process.
So can you give us an example of that?
Okay, so what do we call complex carbohydrates? Let's start there.
Bread.
Anything that has fiber with it. So any of your fruits, any of your vegetables, and those high grain, like the whole wheat, any of your like seeds or lentils or beans, stuff like that. Those are going to be considered your complex carbohydrates. And those are typically the carbohydrates that you're going to see on that approved food list.
So is whole wheat bread in that category or not?
It is, yeah. Yeah, you just want to make sure that you're choosing real whole wheat and not the white bread that they put dye in to make it look like whole wheat, because that's what a lot of the whole wheat bread is in the store. Okay. So you really want to make sure that you're having those combinations of the protein and the complex carbohydrate. So when you look at the way that we've set up the meal plan, every single one of your meals has both that combination. Whether it is a protein and a vegetable or a protein and a fruit, which we have kind of one of your later snacks, or a protein and just another type of carbohydrate, you've always got that combination because it's going to slow down that fat conversion process. It's also going to help you feel a lot more full. But it's really important that you're getting those high quality foods into your body. How many of you guys remember a few years ago when we did the no carbohydrate diet?
Oh, that sounds.
Yeah, not fun. One of you said something about I'm having a hard time eating and I had a headache and da-da-da-da-da. And I said that's called hangry. It's spelled Hangry. Has anybody experienced being hangry? Yeah, I get that way. It's hungry and angry. You're angry because you're so hungry. You get headaches, all that kind of stuff. Well, that's the way the population was living for a while when they went on those like really low carb diets and took all the carbohydrates out. Not so good. You've got to have that balance in your diet. So whether you don't eat, and I hear this all the time, do you eat bread? I'm like, yeah, I do. Do I eat bread every day? No. Do I eat it every third or fourth day? Sometimes. Sometimes not. Sometimes I'll go like a week or two without having any bread at all. Does it matter? No, but I'm still putting carbohydrates into my diet. I'm getting like wild rice or baked sweet potato or something like that. But you want to have carbohydrates in your diet. Those carbohydrates are really, really important. It's just a matter of getting it from the right sources. So we talked a little bit about complex carbohydrates and what those are. They're carbohydrates that have fiber in them. So what are some carbohydrate sources that have no fiber in them? Or what we would consider a simple carbohydrate?
Rice, your bread.
Your white rice, your breads, like your white bread,
White tortilla.
white tortilla, cookies, cereals, sugars, candy, Pop-Tarts. Okay.
Cinnamon rolls.
Cinnamon rolls.
Oh, let's get into it.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so those are what we call the simple carbohydrates. We want to stay away from those the best that we can. Now, if you follow any fitness people on social media, you're going to see that sometimes they post things like, oh my gosh, I found like these red velvet Oreos and I can't wait to stuff my face full of them. It's a little bit different when you're weightlifting because sometimes you need to pump those simple carbohydrates in immediately after a workout, and so they use those really crappy foods. And I wish that they didn't publicize that as much because, I mean, these are really elite athletes and they have like one of them and then they stop and they're good. And they say they're stuffing their face full of it. They're really not. But then it makes like the average person like us say, well, he or she did it and he or she looks like this, so I can do it. No, okay? So just know that sometimes on some social media accounts that you will see things that make you go, huh? And if you're going, huh, it's probably for a right reason, okay? Also, when we're talking about complex carbohydrates, I'm gonna go back to fruits and vegetables. If you can, try to add some of the raw foods into your diet. So raw vegetables, raw fruits. Do you ever cook fruits? Typically not. There's a little thing in those raw foods, and they're called enzymes, okay? Those enzymes help your body map out where those calories should go. And for the non-raw foods, so your cooked foods, when you have those enzymes, they're actually gonna help map out where those foods go as well. So I'm not going to eat raw chicken or raw ground turkey, ick. But if I do have cooked chicken or cooked ground turkey and I have some raw red bell peppers with it and some cucumbers, those enzymes are going to help map out where that food goes to. Now, if I don't have any of those raw foods in my diet, I'm going to lack those enzymes, and sometimes those calories are going to get put in places in my body that maybe they don't necessarily need to be. And that's sometimes why we have fat deposits.
Does it have to be at the same meal?
Typically, yeah. That's why I try to have at least some raw food with every meal. And am I perfect with that? Heck no. But I really try to, have at least something raw. And I get at least, my fruits, I know that's a give me. And the more colorful your foods, the better off. So when you're cooking broccoli, when it's done, it should not be brown. It should not be limp. It should still have a little bit of crispness to it, and it should still be green, okay? So slightly undercook your vegetables, especially when you're doing your meal prep. Really undercook your veggies, because when you reheat it, they will cook a little bit more. And I'm sure you found this last week, if you did do some of that with your veggies, you cooked them all the way and then you went to reheat them, you're like, oh, these taste gross. Yeah, so kind of undercook your veggies. Okay. All right, the next one, drink plenty of water. And this is one I'm going to take just a little bit more time on. Okay. Water is a powerful force that maintains life in the most crucial way and is a true, it's a true act of living. So I'm going to have you guys all raise your hands. Just raise your hands real fast, okay? If you do not do one of these things, I want you to drop your hand. Breathing. You'll breathe, keep your hand up. Stress. Digestion. Sweating. Growing. Obesity. Growing. Are you growing?
Oh, I thought you said rowing.
Oh,
Like
growing. Okay. Having a diet high in processed food. Now, not this last week, but like the weeks in the past. Diets high in processed foods. Consuming any toxins. Yeah, we go outside, we breathe the air.
Yeah.
Having a fever. I don't have a fever right now. Okay, let's put our hands up. Expelling bodily fluids. I pee like a racehorse. Chronic illness. I don't have anything, but some of us do. Hands back up. Sun exposure. You walk outside. Exercise. If you take any medications, or if you've had any sunburns. Sunburns. Yeah. Those are all ways that you dehydrate. You guys had your hands up most of the time, didn't you? So just the act of daily living, you are dehydrating. Look at everybody grabbing for their water.
I know.
Interesting. Okay, so before you take some sips, I know some of you have already. These are some of the symptoms from dehydration. Headaches, fatigue, lethargy, confusion, dry lips, constipation. Have you ever had any of those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want you to take your water and we're going to drink 10 gulps right now. Big 10 gulps. that feel better? So that was 10 gulps. I started just under the 32 ounce, and I'm now just under the 16 ounce. So I did about 10 ounces there and 10 gulps. Okay. So if you ever have dry lips and you feel like reaching for chapstick, and I posted this earlier this week, take 10 big gulps of water. Almost immediately you feel like you don't have to have chapstick. Another test, put your hand out. Grab it, pinch it. If that skin stays peaked, that is a sign of dehydration.
Uh-oh. I thought it was age.
Some of it is too, but honestly, as you age, you dehydrate more. Isn't that amazing? Just those two simple little tests. Chapped lips and your skin, if it stays peaked, those are signs of dehydration. Sometimes we confuse thirst for hunger, and when we're, searching around, it's like, oh, I've got to have something. We're thinking that we're hungry, but you're actually thirsty. Again, take 10 gulps of water, wait a couple minutes and see if you're truly hungry. And if you're eating those 5 small meals a day, typically you're not going to be too hungry. It's more just a sign of dehydration. So how much is enough? And I posted this earlier in the week, but take your body weight, divide it in half, and that's a minimum. So if you are sweating, if you've been outside, if you have been traveling, if you've drank alcohol or any other diuretic, meaning beverages with caffeine, so teas, coffees, things like that, you're going to need to add extra water. So most of us are, if you're doing this plan, you're exercising, you're going to be outside, you've got to have more water. That's why we shoot for 3/4 to 1 gallon of water. Now, can you have too much water? You actually can. It takes a lot to get there, but you actually can have too much water. But if you're drinking between 3/4 and a gallon, that's nowhere close to being too much. It's more like 2 to 3 gallons of water. Okay. Making it better. Do you guys love drinking water? Some are saying yes, some are like, no. You can flavor your water. So get a big pitcher, put it in your fridge, slice up some lemons, put a couple of strawberries in it, put a couple cucumbers in it, let it soak overnight and drink that. Mint leaves are another really, really tasty way to flavor your water. Basil is another really yummy way to flavor your water. Basil and cucumber, that's a really good combination. Again, look it up. Go on Pinterest, Google it, look at infused waters, and there's a lot of ways that you can change the flavor of your water.
What about those packets that people put in the water?
Most of them have a lot of sweeteners in them. Occasionally I will use meal, which is it's a flavored like squeezed liquid. I drink a lot of water and sometimes I just need something else. I do sometimes get sick of drinking it. So if you need it every so often, okay, but the majority of it should be just straight old water. Yeah.
What if I really crave a lot of ice cold milk?
That's interesting.
There's a lot of times when I get done doing something, I just want a big tall glass of ice cold milk, and I can drink almost the whole thing right there.
Okay. That's interesting. We should probably look at like what your protein is, and see if maybe you're lacking in the protein, that maybe you're craving the milk because of a lack of protein. Yeah, that could be it. So tricks of the trade. Again, I said this at the beginning. Grab a water bottle. Know how much you can, or how much is in this. This is a 32-ounce water bottle. I know I've got to have 4 of these in a day to get a gallon of water. This is actually my 5th one today. And I've had another glass of another thing. So I'm working on just over a gallon. So know how much and drink out of this only. Get in the habit of it. Know how much. And don't like drink down to here and then fill it back up, because then you lost your count. Drink the whole thing and then fill it back up. But that's going to help you a ton. And log it. So if you're not drinking out of this, you can log it in your FitnessPal, or even Fitbit has the way that you can log each time you've had 8 ounces. But don't just do a little sip. Actually take some gulps of water. Okay? All right, next one, stick to proper portion sizes. And this is one of the biggest things for a lot of us. We look at portion sizes and we say a portion size and a serving size. So when you think of a Thanksgiving dinner, You sit down, you grab mashed potatoes, and you put a great big serving on your plate. That's a serving, that's not a portion. There's probably 2 or 3 portions in that one serving. And I fall victim to interchanging those words sometimes, so I apologize. But know if I'm saying it, I'm meaning you want the right, correct amount. And I'm sure as you guys have been logging your foods, you're really, really seeing how some of those big serving sizes, when you just put it on your plate, got you into trouble. Am I wrong? No. You guys are like, yeah. It's been really, really eye-opening for you guys to log your foods and measure it. So when you're measuring it, you should have a couple of tools. Measuring cups. Do you guys all have measuring cups? How many of you guys travel at all? Go out of town. Okay. I have forgotten my measuring cups a billion times. Go to Walmart. These are 88 cents. I'm not kidding. 88 cents. Go there and get your whole great big stack of measuring cups, because then you've got to make them, throw them in your car, or if you're in an airplane, just leave them at the hotel. It's 88 cents. But at least you can actually measure out what your portions are. When you're doing your rice, okay, there's my half a cup line down here. There's the full cup line. Measure it out and then dump it on your plate. When I did those meatballs the other night, I put my pasta in, and I actually did 3/4 of a cup. I actually burned, I think, 2,800 calories that day, and I needed a little bit more, so I wasn't in such a huge deficit. So I put 3/4 of a cup pasta, dumped it out, and my husband looked at me and he's like, well, that's not very much. I'm like, yeah, but watch this, and I just kind of spread it out. I put my 6 meatballs on, and he's like, oh. And it was a decent amount. I was totally satisfied with that. But if I would have gone with what my belly was telling me at the time, I would have doubled or tripled that amount. But because I had my measuring cups, I didn't. The other tool, hopefully you guys all have this, is a scale. Now this is what my scale looks like. Are you guys getting comfortable using your scale? No? Okay, I'm going to pause the camera because we're going to do a little